Bring that to your attention. We worked on the Cooper Street Drain Project. It's a joint venture with Armstrong Cable. Estimated prices for the drainage work is $37,601.52. And then to repair the sidewalks, after we do the drainage work, the estimated cost is $43,491.25. Sidewalk work and paving for Mount, Pearl, and Cherry will wait till next year. Timing and close of the paving season will not afford us the opportunity to do it before winter, partly because of the bidding process that we will be going through. It takes a month to get the bids in, and so we won't really put it out to bid until probably January, so that we can look at the bids when they come in by the end of January or the middle of February, and when the paving plant's open again, we can, and it's concrete working time again, we can actually get to work on those things. We're starting to get issues about commercial trucks parking in residential neighborhoods again. A large tractor trailer is parking in the Rising Hills development, and we're working to get that issue stopped. It happens occasionally on Buckley Avenue as well. I've driven around on occasion and seen tractor trailers parked where they should not be. So we are working to keep that issue clear. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time for citizen input. And first on the list is Jason Sneeden in Western Market.
Yep, yeah, I will speak today. Oh, sure. My name is Jason Sneddon. I live at 5 East Main Street in Rising Sun. My really main concern today is that with the passing of ordinances and resolutions, I as a citizen, at least not that I'm aware of, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there any way that I have to find out about that before they happen, or is that, it seems like what Mayor Fisher's talking about, I'm not against anything that was passed today, but we're kind of blindsided to that. I was not aware of any of the ordinances passing. Maybe other people were, but is there? I mean, at least I would support some way of a prior notification for us, the citizens, and at least make it appear more transparent, for the operation of you as our elected governing officials.
I would think that it's possible, however, it might be up to Travis to put those kinds of things on the website that we have, ordinances and resolutions that will be passed. Please come and listen.
Okay.
It should be put on there before they're passed. Before they're passed, not after they're passed, before.
Yeah.
So that they can consider it and come and comment on it.
I have no way either for me to even comment on that, to my representation for that. Nothing was, even more draconian than what was passed tonight. But, if that were to come about, it would be good to be able to comment before anything was passed. At least, I don't know if votes could be held till the end, or I don't even know how, you would go about doing that, but that would just be something that would be.
So far we've been following what was done by the previous administration. However, what you're feeling is government without representation.
Well, I would say so, not necessarily.
Government without input.
Yeah, and I would also submit that precedence isn't I know lawyers like to operate on precedents, but it's not the way that, necessarily everything should be operated. At one point, slavery was legal in our country, was that the appropriate thing? I would say not, and I imagine most other people would say not as well, but that was precedence at one time, slavery was accepted.
Those are the things we need to hear so that we know how to improve. That's one of, that's a good suggestion. And I thank you.
All right, and just one more thing, I guess this is for everybody. Just a reminder, I know that it was brought up that loans were not free money, and I would also, I know there's a lot of talk going about grants, that is also paid for by we the people. So no matter what, if it's coming for sidewalks or whatever the reason is, that is coming out of, you in some way or another, with some tax in some form. And I don't know, what everybody's tax rate is, but I think it's something like every American works somewhere around 3 months for free. Well, 4 months, okay, for free, just so that, we can pay taxes. So I think it's just thrown around that, oh, it's a grant and everything's fine, but that's not the case. It is coming out of our pockets. So I guess that's all I have if nobody has any questions.
I would like to add that I will give you an example as far as the parks grant goes. If I don't use our parks grants, they'll go to another municipality. So if they're not used in the town of Rising Sun, they could be used in another town. They're going to be used for the same thing, but luckily enough, we got them for the town of Rising Sun. They're going to go to another municipality, whether or not used for the
Well, I'm not saying that I'm condemning grants entirely. I'm just saying, as a reminder to everybody, that that does come from we the people. The private sector has to generate that profit, to be taxed in some way or another. So it's not free. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Augie Pearson.
Good evening. My name's Augie Pearson, 103 Little Brick Court.
Speak into the microphone.
My name is Augie Pearson, 102 Little Brick Court, Rising Sun. This is the Mr. Stewart, if you're still here. Parcel 112 and parcel 111, I believe that is the McCoy property parcels. With them going into agricultural preservation, I don't know whether they'll be eligible for recharge or not.
They are, so that's the answer to your question. I've checked it out,
Okay.
so that question.
Okay, that's fine. Second then, Mr. Fisher, when are we going to hear your presentation on why you want to go with the wells and how you're going to do it?
Well, I'm certainly willing to do that. But I have to have the commissioner's agreement to do that. I have a person that'll make a free proposal, and the cost will be between $5,000 and $10,000.
Okay. I think, given the fact that we have studied this for the last 7 years, I believe that would be money wasted. Okay.
Well, the potential savings is considerable.
Okay, let's deal with the considerable savings, okay? Should we go that direction and we get into a legal bind, the cost over a great period of time could be far more substantial.
Well, we can't sit here and hypothesize what's going to happen. I mean, we can be cognizant of all those things, but we have to get the best information we can to make the decision. And I don't believe that we have the best information at this point.
Okay, Mr. Fisher, this is where I definitely disagree with you. We just spent the better part of 5.5 years gathering information from every possible way we could, and then at the last minute, you have a better way to make a mousetrap? We had already made these commitments, and it's irrelevant, sir, whether something happened. You've made a couple of statements, okay? For example, the drought stopping in Pennsylvania, starting in Pennsylvania. It's a drought in Pennsylvania. I swear I've been up and down the roads and cannot find that magic wall that would not allow the drought to come here. In fact, back in 2009, the commissioners had to put restrictions on water from March to November because of a drought.
Well, I
Okay.
think there was a big water leak also, but we're not here to argue about talking. If you have a constructive statement, please make it and be succinct with it.
My statement is this. The decision was made by prior groups of commissioners and mayors to take the direction we've taken. And that's the course we have to stay now, because we made the best decisions we possibly could with all the information we got.
Well, I don't agree with that, so that's, as far as I'm concerned, the end of it.
Okay. That's
Do
the
you have
end.
anything else to say?
Yes, sir. And I'm quoting you from the paper about you spent $30,000 on the town. Well, that was not our decision.
I didn't say it was your decision.
Right.
But I showed some commitment to the town, I believe.
That wasn't a commitment. That cost the town $50,000. Just think, where $50,000 could help the town. But we spent it defending ourselves against you.
And that could have saved the town, if you'd listened to me, probably $5 million. So I'm not here to
No,
argue.
Mr. Fisher, we're going to get this out and now. That's the end of this thing. Where were you? You were living in Wilmington when we went through this entire process.
Augie, you're out of order, would you please?
No, he's not.
It's my time, Mr. Mayor. You said it. Okay, that's the point. We did everything we possibly could. We held open meetings, not only in this room, at the firehouse. We had the consultants all come in, give handouts. We did everything we possibly could to give everybody the best information we could. And now, it's not good enough for Bob Fisher. And I don't know what else we could have done to help everybody, help us make the decision. There was citizens' input, but you gotta be here to tell us.
I offered to help you. but you
After
rejected
we
it.
already started the process, and we couldn't stop. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, next person. Okay, Bill Smith. Tom Mooney. You have a question mark here.
I'm not gonna make any comments tonight.
Okay, Tom.
The circus is bad enough.
Mayor, Commissioners, Rhonda, Calvin, Jay, good evening. My name is Bill Smith. I live at 316 Stoneman Drive in Rising Sun. Today I'm here to represent the homeowners board, or the HOA, of Brian's Grace. Mr. Mayor, you initiated this issue, and you and I had some brief conversation. You didn't get back to me, went through a third party. I understand through that third party that you also requested
I came
that.
to your house several times. and this- you never-
I work out of town frequently. You can ask anybody that knows me, sir. But hear me out, please. I also understand through that third party that you requested of them to speak on behalf of Brian's Grace to the developer. Now, hear me out, sir. Today, whether he said, she said, I forgot, I didn't say that, it's irrelevant. Today, I am handing out to the commissioners and the board, and I'm making a formal request of the mayor and the commissioners. A few things. With you coming into our development with your petition, Mr. Mayor, I'm getting a flurry of emails and phone calls. A formal request in writing to the Brian's Grace Homeowners Association as to why, after 5 years, it still has not been accepted into the town limits. B, I would like it all in writing. C, you had mentioned to meet with the developer. Now, for whatever reason, whether someone likes someone, doesn't like someone, has an issue with that particular person. I personally believe that through a neutral party mediation, anything is accomplished. I therefore am requesting that you, mayor, the commissioners, the town administrator, even the attorney, we have a meeting at a neutral site to work through the issues in our development with the developer to a mutual satisfaction, so we know when the town will accept the community of Brian Grades into the town and what to do. And the reason I'm doing this, Mayor, so everybody's on the same page, we all understand, there's no question of, I didn't say that, that's not what I meant, whatever it is, we want all to be on the same page. So I would like to give you 30 days to have something back in writing, so I can take to our homeowners, which is 40-plus homes in this development, the issues pending, what will happen, and when they will be resolved. Very good. And if you'd like, we'll pull a page right out of your book. I have no problem with bringing an attorney to represent the development of Brian's Graves to the meeting. However, Mr. Fisher, I need someone else there as a neutral observer to make sure that, again, that everything is clear and we're all on the same page. And I thank you all for your time.
Bill, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Don't take this offensively, I'm just a little, I guess you'd say confused. We didn't come to your, I didn't speak to you.
Mr. Fisher did.
Okay.
Mr. Fisher came in to our development with a petition for his own mutual benefit, whatever you want to call it, and asking a lot of questions, saying a lot of things. The homeowners are all over me as I am an elected official on the board by the developer. Now, if you're unable to do that or unwilling to do that, then amend it, let us out of the Rising Sun so we can go back, default back to Cecil County, and we won't have to pay the taxes. But it's been 5 years, sir. 5 years that the community's been closed.
I've only been mayor for 2 months.
But you initiated, sir. I need answers. You have 30 days, sir, as a formal request from the board, the homeowners in that development. And I thank you all for your time. Have a great evening.
Okay, excellent. Sandy, Deidre?
No.
No. Okay. Alan Aldridge?
I put that.
No.
My name's Alan Aldridge, 107 Broadleaf Court here in Rising Sun. What I wanted to speak about tonight was there's been so much made to do about getting rid of our town administrator. I want to thank him for being on the job and for coming out to our development at 2 o'clock in the morning on the weekend, all the way from his home, and bringing the town operations people out for a water main break and keeping what could have been a very bad situation from getting worse. I also want to thank him and Ron Thomas and Commissioner Osborne for visiting our development and looking at the condition of the undeveloped area to see what we can do about it. Barry, thank you for being cooperative with that initiative also. So just want to thank for going above and beyond the call of duty and helping out the town residents that elected you. That's all I have.
Jeff, if you have something new to say, you can say it, but if you don't have it, if it's a repeat of what you've already said twice.
Oh, okay. I wasn't going to speak, man. You make
Yes.
I was going to defer.
Well, if you don't want to speak, don't speak.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of First Amendment rights. I have here in my hand, I'm just going to read this if you don't mind, I don't want to speak it. I have here in
Is
my
this the same
hand.
thing you read before?
No. I have here in my hand Supreme Court opinion given in 1892. It was a case known as the Holy Trinity Church versus the U.S.
I think this is the same sort of information you had
Well,
before, Jeff.
that's
And you're out of order.
Just not good.
He's not out of order. He's allowed to speak anything he wants in this part of the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. This was a case concerning a federal statute regulating immigration. Now, this really has nothing to do, I'm just giving a little overview. In the opinion written by Associate Justice David Josiah Grover, He addresses the spirit and intent of law in relation to the letter of the law. And he agrees favorably, he argues favorably on the concept of original intent. Again, this has nothing to do with the discussion here, it's just to give you an idea of what's going on. He also relates a brief historical lesson, which may fairly be viewed as validating the acknowledgement of God in American political history. He starts with Columbus, Sir Walter Raleigh, and then the first charter of Virginia, which states, and this was, the first charter of Virginia was 1606. We greatly commended and graciously accepted their desire for the furtherance of so noble a work, which may, by the providence of Almighty God, hereafter tend to the glory of His divine majesty in propagating of Christian religion to such people as yet live in darkness and miserable ignorance of the true knowledge and worship of God, and may in time bring the infidels and savages living in these parts to human civility and to be a settled and quiet government. Then he goes on and he quotes the Mayflower Compact, which says, having undertaken for the glory of God an advancement of the Christian religion and the honor of our king and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia, do by these presidents solemnly and mutually in the presence of God and one another covenant and combine ourselves together in a civil body politic for our better ordering and preservations and furtherance of the ends aforesaid. Now he goes on, and of course time won't allow me to quote all these, though I would love to. He quotes the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, which are 1638-39. He continues with William Penn's Charter of Privileges of Fayette of Pennsylvania, which is 1701, the Declaration of Independence. And then he goes on to
wrap it up.
He goes on and he quotes a number of the state constitutions, including Massachusetts and Mississippi, and he, he goes into the Declaration of Independence, and he says this: if we examine the constitutions of the various states, we find in them a constant recognition of religious obligations. Every constitution of every one of the 44 states, this being 1892, contains language which either directly or by clear implication recognizes a profound reverence for religion and an assumption that its influence in all human affairs is essential to the well-being of the community. And he goes on, and I can't, elaborate on the entire quote, but he also quotes the Illinois Constitution, and he extensively quotes the Maryland Constitution, Articles 36 and 37, which I have dwelt on before. And he goes on to quote the Mississippi Constitution, and I would like to read what he says this is a quote. Article 22 of the Constitution of Delaware, dated 1776, which required all officers, besides an oath of allegiance, to make and subscribe the following declaration: I, Jeff Achenbach, or whomever, do profess faith in God the Father, and in Jesus Christ, His only Son, in the Holy Ghost, one God, blessed forevermore. And I do acknowledge the Holy Scriptures of the Old and New Testament to be given by divine inspiration. If you were going to hold office, you had to make that declaration in 1776 in the state of Delaware. He goes on and quotes the Constitution of the United States, and then trying to conclude, there is no dissonance in these declarations. There is a universal language pervading them all, having one meaning. They affirm and reaffirm that this is a religious nation. These are not individual sayings, declarations of private persons. These are organic utterances. They speak the voice of the entire people. While being of a general recognition of this truth, the question has seldom been presented to our courts. And then he continues with 3 court cases that had happened over the history of the United States that did deal with the acknowledgement of God and religious issues that were adjudicated. I won't go bother quoting them, but I'll get to the end. I'll get to the end here. If we pass beyond these matters to a view of American life as expressed by its laws, its business, its customs, and its society, we find everywhere a clear recognition of the same truth. Among other matters, note the following. The form of oath universally prevailing, concluding with an appeal to the Almighty, the custom of opening sessions of all deliberative bodies and most conventions with prayer, the prefatory words of all wills, in the name of God, amen. The laws respecting the observance of the Sabbath, with the general cessation of all secular business, and the closing of courts, legislatures, and other similar public assemblies on that day, the churches and church organizations which abound in every city, town, and hamlet, and the multitude of charitable organizations existing everywhere under the Christian auspices, the gigantic missionary associations with general support and aiming to establish Christian missions in every quarter of the globe. These and many other matters which might be noticed add a volume of unofficial declarations to the mass of organic utterances that this nation is a Christian nation. What, are you cutting me off? I guess I'll have to finish next time.
That's not the purpose we came here for. Roger Lamb.
Thank you, Mayor and Mayor Fisher and Rising Sun Commissioners and officials. I appreciate the opportunity for us to have an open session here for public comment. I live on Stevens Road. My land borders the Rising Sun town limits. I've lived in Rising Sun for 25 years. I've seen a good number of things, that I'd like to comment on, but, I'm going to make a few comments here. First of things is, I don't stand here before you just for the sake of complaining that McDonald's restaurants and other businesses aren't not doing enough to curb litter and loitering around Rising Sun. But why should I have to ask? These problems are obvious. I would hope Rising Sun town officials, commissioners, and administrators were proactive enough to control litter and improve the image of Rising Sun as they have major priorities here. Rising Sun has litter problems because no ordinance that I'm aware of compels these trash-generating merchants to empty their garbage cans until those cans are overflowing and stinking. We even had an instance at the Sunoco where they didn't even have trash cans by the pumps. Not that I use them, but other people just threw stuff on the ground. Well, we need ordinance and laws around here with some teeth to make these merchants be better neighbors. It's a merchant's own responsibility to help improve their community and not trash it. There should be improvement in those areas. The last administrations felt it was more important to accommodate developers who refused to pay their fair share. Citizens of Rising Sun found grass was never greener on the other side as promised. Funny how builders say they built all this by themselves when they would build nothing if it were not for the local government making it possible. These plans do not work. Just count your empty storefronts in Rising Sun. Essentially, at Rising Sun Town Hall, we have expectations of open and fair government, but we have problems since trash keeps getting deeper at Town Hall. This courtesy from previous administrations who were voted out. Rising Sun voters keep voting out the trash, but trash keeps coming back. You know who I'm talking about? They and their followers always cheering for each other, no matter what was said. This group has a remarkable resiliency to keep on patting themselves on the back about how they took care of the trash while serving in office, but actually the previous administration was too busy getting entertained by corporations seeking an advantage over the interests of Rising Sun taxpayers instead of making Rising Sun a better place for existing residents. I find it no surprise and absolutely downright disrespectful to every Rising Sun resident at a town workshop 2 weeks ago that unprofessional acts and drama from former town officials Mummy and Pearson occurred as neither of them could control themselves to wait until the public comment period. They made a lot of unsubstantiated claims, and it seems like it's all directed at Mayor Fisher. The last administration had no fiscal responsibilities, but somehow fashioned themselves fiscal conservatives. They blew your money on a new town logo, maybe $5,000 or more, I'm not sure. Spent $2,500 on a groundbreaking ceremony. I always thought that turning over a shovel of dirt was free. They spent $50,000 on lawyers to convict a town official of stealing $5,000. Made apparently verbal commitments to developers who now sue Rising Sun for millions. And I have a question about a banner program where light poles, banners on light poles costing thousands don't appear to have gained one corporate sponsor. And Cronenberger said that this program would pay for itself. I don't understand that. I would like a report on the banner program. I'm also tired of hearing how we must accept Mummy, Pearson, and Cox's big-ticket solutions for sewer and water without any debate. Well, I'm glad we had some tonight. You know, we had a nice presentation. Some of it made some sense. We're already living with that group's terrible record-keeping, poor decisions, attempts to minimize opposing opinions at town hall meetings. Can't this group get constructive about open and fair government? Those people and protesters are given a black eye to Rising Sun, and no progress gets made. The sewer plant should be up and running by now, instead it's still polluting the Chesapeake Bay. Let me give you an example of how Rising Sun gets a bad rap. Many people don't vote locally because most believe Rising Sun election day is in November, not May or June. Voting in spring is logistically impossible for most, and time off is an issue for others. Many people have a hard time attending regular special planning, zoning, and appeals meetings, and it is much more difficult to attend meetings when some meetings were abruptly scheduled in the past. One such planning and zoning meeting resulted in an investigation by the State of Maryland Open Meetings Compliance Board, who wrote an opinion that Rising Sun advertised meeting notice was legally defective. And I'd be very happy to share that document with anyone who wants to see it. Officials here have not been considerate of citizen testimonies, even making very hasty approvals for Maple Heights apartments when really this was a done deal long before any public meeting was scheduled. Much like tonight, you know, it seems like kind of a railroading. The meetings were nothing but a formality. They were meetings about making these apartments 3 stories high or trying to make them fit on a lot too small. Big bluff. Some meetings were about grants, funding water and sewer for Maple Heights, but I've never received copies of most of those meeting minutes, even when I requested them a few years back. And also, I could not find from Cronenberger, or couldn't tell me what was purchased with Rising Sun credit cards when they made those inquiries. From records I obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, Rising Sun paid Cox, Mummy, and Pearson for attending many more meetings and mileage for which there are no minutes available. So what exactly did Rising Sun pay them for? What was discussed and with who? I think if no meetings exist, then Rising Sun officials should not be paid for attending meetings. Let approval was really discussed at the meetings and that they even attended them. There's no secrets need to be kept from people in town. Since Maple Heights were approved, there have been multiple accidents at Maple Heights Drive and 273. I think, or do you think the developer will pay to improve that intersection or install a light once he gets the approval to build 60 more tenements in there? He will not, because the developer will say he's paid enough, but he enjoys a tax shelter while counting federally guaranteed rental income you know, for a lot of the Maple Heights apartment people that travel a long distance to work. There's no jobs in Rising Sun to speak of. The result of these approvals works on the minds and pocketbooks of long-term Rising Sun taxpayers who got no new jobs, no big employer, a tougher job market locally, traffic congestion, sewer moratorium, more police activity, and a $100 million lawsuit brought by a developer. Some developers are still mad because developer George Beer got the last 78 connections before the moratorium. George Beer and I have known each other since my neighbors and I met him back several years ago at Rising Sun town meetings. This was after we found out apartments were planned for a pasture behind our homes on a somewhat wet piece of property. Most never saw one sign posted, although I do believe the signs were really there. I thought the road was a private driveway, and that's where more than a tenth of a mile down that driveway off 273, the customary sheet on a stick of paper was posted about a town meeting that the public was largely unaware of until after the fact when this project got approved and made headlines. When I addressed Town Hall during Judy Cox's regime about the then proposed apartments, my concerns were mostly dismissed, but generally Rising Sun officials were indignant about the whole thing. The developer George Beer was very insulting, called our group prejudiced. He escalated his intimidations after I became one of several plaintiffs against Mayor Cox and the town of Rising Sun, who approved 5 variances and a special exception for Mr. Beer. Things were hotly contested at town meetings when commissioners were not sympathetic to us. Then developer Beer himself must have had me followed to the home of my boss at my new job. A couple of days later, my boss told me Beer called their house, and having never met him before, he spoke to her husband, asking a month's small talk about the township they both reside in, but live miles apart, was to ask my wife and I to stop our legal action. Beer even took Mr. Quinn out for lunch. I even spoke with Mr. Quinn, who happens to be a retired attorney, and afterwards we felt we should not drop our case until the last day possible. And my wife and I had no plans to drop that lawsuit against the town of Rising Sun because the community I started, Friends of Rising Sun, put together popular and successful fundraisers paying almost an entire legal cost for every plaintiff. She and I were last plaintiff keeping the suit alive when I got forced out of Friends of Rising Sun by several members, some sitting here today, who I said I missed too many meetings, but I missed 2. The group was at that time angrily demanding by nasty emails that as a member of Friends of Rising Sun, I must abandon my rights and excuse myself from the lawsuit against the town of Rising Sun.
Right, for your time.
Is, well, we'll leave it there. Next meeting, I'll continue my letter.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paul.
May we have a copy of your
I will
dissertation?
forward it to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Dee, I'm sorry, I skipped over.
That was on the package. Somehow this timing seems, for DM Emsley, 479 Slicers Mill Road. 2 meetings ago, Commissioner Naughton read, I think it was Robert's Rules of Order, or Rules of Conduct or something, mentioning that citizens' input would be limited to 3 minutes. I believe at the following meeting, Mayor Fisher noted that he found something somewhere that said it would be 10 minutes. I think we need to decide what it's going to be, and in the spirit of fairness to everyone, it needs to be applied across everyone. So therefore, I am donating a timer to the town. It's currently set on 3 minutes. If it needs to go to 10, put it to 10, but please apply it to everybody.
Thank you, Brad.
Skip Yost.
Just press stop.
Skip Hughes, 36 West Cherry Street, Rising Sun. This meeting, I've enjoyed the way the board worked together, including the mayor. It wasn't as contentious as seemed as the previous meetings. I think we're making progress, although there might be some things under the radar we're not really coming out yet. But I do appreciate the way everybody has, you know, especially the newer members, and the newer have been working, and I think things are coming along. And even Mayor Fisher, tonight, I kind of appreciate the way you kind of ran things to a degree. It's getting a little bit better, I think, and just hope it keeps on going that way. I have one other thing to say, and I kind of lost it. And I'll take my 3 minutes and maybe come back next time.
Well, actually, the ordinance says, let's stop. Okay, so we will go by the ordinance. Did I run over time, Gene? I mean, you're saying that people didn't keep track of time. I think I kept track of time.
Some of them seemed like forever.
You're not telling me anything I don't know.
It was a big help, though. We
Right,
appreciate it.
I was gonna get a stopwatch, but I just never have gone to the store to get there. Is there anybody else who wants to speak? Okay. Keith.
Mayor, Commissioners, how are you tonight? I'm Keith Campbell, I'm from 29 Pearl Street, Rising Sun, Maryland. Questions that I have tonight are in reference to the dog park that we're doing now. And I think, I don't know if they need to be addressed to Calvin or to you. One of the questions that I have is, this is going to be an off-the-leash dog park, correct?
There are portions of it that are going to be on
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Now, here's something that I thought. Who's going to dictate on the dogs that go into the park, as far as with, we have people that have dogs that may not have all their shots and stuff like that. And as far as rabies shots and things of that nature, are we going to have somebody stand there and dictate on whose dog's going to be able to go in and out of the park, as far as that goes? And the other question is the name of the park Daydream Park, or is it Triangle Park?
If you can meet with me after the meeting, Keith, I can talk.
No, I'd like to speak with you right now, because I don't have time to meet with you after the meeting.
Calvin, do you want to go ahead and ask?
And then, well, let me ask you the other question too. How about insurance liability? What's gonna happen if somebody's dog attacks somebody else's dog? Are we gonna have the chief come down and referee the dog fights, or, I don't understand. Not everybody's dog is obedient, and how are we gonna check everybody's dog to make sure that they all have rabies shots before they enter the dog park?
I understand. Calvin, do you want to elaborate a little more on that? As far as our insurance goes, I'm not really.
Yeah, I'll try to yell so everybody can hear me. Keith, the one question you asked was the name of the park?
Yes.
The original name of that area was Triangle Park. Previous Commissioner Debbie Craig was in charge of Parks and Recreation.
Mm-hmm.
And in putting the grant together, she suggested that the name of the park be changed to Daydream Park, because down at Community Park, there is a mural, brushed, painted mural on the side of the bridge that was trying to capture the theme of being in a park daydreaming. And so part of this park project that we have at Triangle Park, there are big culverts under or over Mount Street, you know.
Right.
And they lend themselves to having murals put on the side of the abutment. And so the idea back in 2008 is let's change the name to Daydream Park.
Okay, so
that's why
it's Daydream Park, not Triangle Park? Because I think we need to get the people who are confused about, is it Triangle Park or is it Daydream Park? So that's one of the questions that I had. How about the insurance liability?
The insurance would be no different than any of our other parks. We've checked into it. Communities have skateboard parks, they have dog parks, they have a variety of different parks. You provide community outlets for your residents, and they're covered by insurance. So our risk is no more, no less than what any other community has.
And if there's any type of issues, how would the issue be taken care of as far as, say, somebody's dog attacks somebody else's dog, or?
I don't think it would be any different than, let's take a scenario with you. If you have a dog, I don't know if you do, and somebody's dog gets
I have a
loose,
dog,
or
yeah.
somebody's walking their dog, and for whatever reason attacks your dog on your property, it would be handled the same way.
Okay, now how about the shot issue? Are we gonna be able to check everybody's dog that come in to make sure they got the proper shots?
Well, there are some communities that do not regulate that, and we're not required to regulate that, because we're not required necessarily to regulate people who walk their dog on a leash on the sidewalk now. We don't pull cards, so to speak, to see if somebody has a rabies shot before they walk their dog. So it's a little bit different when you're talking about on the park, but not that much different. But one of the ideas that we have been kicking around is some type of registration, because the idea is off-leash dog parks attract good dog owners. In other words, somebody who just lets their dog run loose in their backyard and never exercises it or anything like that, they're not worried about taking their dog to a dog park. They just, Fido's in the backyard and that's his life.
Right.
And so dog parks typically attract well-intentioned, good dog owners. So our idea is to potentially create some type of registration program so that we can, we've even entertained the idea of putting like a card swipe on the gate, so we don't have people getting in there in the middle
Yeah, I
of
was
the night.
gonna
Card
say,
swipe.
how would you be able to dictate it if you don't have somebody there to monitor it? I mean,
Because
anybody, you know what I mean?
these parks typically don't need that kind of monitoring. We don't have anybody standing down at community
We need
park.
somebody to monitor it if people are bringing dogs in that aren't registered with the town, correct?
Well, do we monitor people that are walking up and down the sidewalk now with dogs?
Okay,
Let-
that's your answer, that's your answer.
No, Mr. Campbell, let me suggest this. There's gonna come a point in time, and I've talked to Commissioner Varian about this, when we need to sit down and create rules and regulations, just like we have for community
Right.
park already.
Okay,
And the board will consider all those things.
and then there's gonna be walking trails around this park too?
Yes.
And then the fence height, is the fence gonna be,
We have a large dog area and we have a small dog area. The fence height is gonna be.
much for the
much
larger
larger.
dogs? Okay, okay. Now, the other thing is, we talk about saving money in the town. And saving money in the town, I'd just like to, this paper right here, let everybody see it, and then give them a copy if they'd like. This is from our accountant. Okay, now we talked about $50,000 here tonight. We're blowing $50,000, okay? Okay. Mrs. Wagner started working for the town in 2008. The first accounting assistance was $10,000, $420. 2009, we went from $10,000 to $54,102.52. 2010, it's the end of 2010, which would be December, we paid Ms. Wagner $157,000, $383.43. Okay? One of them, I might add, was for record retention. And it's my understanding that the records were stored in the basement of her home. The town, the people of this town, all the taxpayers paid $20,000 for her to store records in her house, okay? But these are all supposed to be cost-saving measures for the town, okay?